Welcome to Straight from the Heart special from the USA. I've now changed it. I'm not doing it on Mondays anymore. I will be doing it on Mondays, but I'll do a USA special now because I'm getting so much love from the guys from the other side of the sea. But today I have an amazing guest. I'm going to introduce him. His name, the clue is in his name, who he is. His name is Jairek Robbins. If you don't know this man, today is the day for you to meet him in the UK, and I want to introduce my whole tribe to this man because through his work, through his podcast, videos, live videos, I've completely changed my life. And from that, I'll thank you from the bottom of my heart. So good afternoon. And what time is it where you are at the moment?
It's 1 PM.
So good. Good afternoon, Jairek. Thank you so much for joining us in the UK.
Of course. Good to be here.
Amazing. Yesterday I was watching your live video on compound interest. What a phenomenal video. Phenomenal, because I watched it. I didn't watch it live, unfortunately. I watched it afterwards, but the golden nuggets, the lessons, so phenomenal. So can you tell us a bit about yourself, please, Mr. Jairek Robbins, and when you're coming over to the UK to see us?
Sure. I'll be there November 5th and 6th, I believe, at an event. I think it's going to be somewhere in London. Not sure the details yet, but a friend of mine is just signing some contracts with us. So we should be over in just about a month. And we're looking forward to it. Should be fun. Always enjoy that side of the pond. A bit about me. What would you like to know? I'm 6'4". I do enjoy the sunsets. They are beautiful. What information do you think people might be interested in?
Information with you is when you went around the world,
sure,
studying, doing your life education and doing your degree. How was that as an experience, and how did it change you as a human being?
Sure. So perspective is huge. And no matter where you go in the world, if you're able to get out of your own perspective and get into the perspective and learn the fact that so many people see life in such a different way, depending on where they came from, what they've experienced, what they've gone through, what they've seen, what they haven't seen. I mean, you can go and meet someone who grew up in London and they'll be like, oh, life is so hard. And you go, really? Okay, well, tell me about life. And they're like, well, I didn't get into the college that I really wanted to. And I didn't get, I had to take out a loan for university. And, I have to work 2 jobs because I can't afford my rent with 1 job. And life is so hard. And you go, wow, it sounds really difficult compared to other stories I've heard. And then you go around, you go to Australia and you say, how's life? And they're like, oh, life's amazing. And it's like, really? Like, tell me about life. And they're like, oh, I'm so blessed to have 2 jobs. And even though I didn't make it through university, like I never got to go, but, I have this beautiful family and everything's great. And you kind of scratch your head and you're like, wait a minute. One dude's complaining about 2 jobs. One dude is completely blessed about 2 jobs. One dude's complaining about having to take loans to go to university. One dude's like, well, shit, I never got to go. And then you kind of scratch your head and go, that's really interesting. Then you meet a little girl from Uganda who at 13 years old, her village was ransacked. Rwanda. Her village was ransacked. All her relatives were killed. She ran out of the village, lived for 4 days and nights in the tall grass, watching her brother, her sister, her mom, her aunt, her uncle, her best friends, and everyone she knows get murdered. And you look around at life and say, how's life?
Exactly.
Life's amazing. Why? Because I'm still alive. And that's a blessing.
Absolutely amazing.
And you go look at those other guys who are complaining about jobs or complaining about having to take out a loan to do something they wanted to do in the first place. And you got to scratch your head and go, how's life? And so for people tuning in or watching, and even for you, one thing to notice is the more perspectives you can gather, the better. If anything, it just gives you, and it doesn't change anything. The guy's still going to complain about 2 jobs and college loans somewhere. The guy's still going to complain about other things in his life. And so is the lady or anyone else listening. That's not going to change it. What it'll do is give you empathy. And if anything, to some extent, it'll make you look around and go, dang, I guess it's pretty freaking good here, huh? And I remember I moved to, took a trip around the world. It was a very, very, very privileged trip. I was through university. It was hosted at the University of Pittsburgh at the time. And it's a cruise ship where they put 700 students on board and they sail it all the way around the world, 110 days, and you stop in, I think, 10 countries. And each country you get to stay for about 5 to 10 days roughly. And we started off in Vancouver, and we went to Tokyo, China, Hong Kong, or Shanghai, Hong Kong. Where we go? India, Vietnam, Thailand, Tanzania, South Africa, Brazil, Venezuela, back up to Florida. So we went all the way around the world. And what's amazing is in every single place you set foot, you realize there's incredible beauty, incredible injustice, incredible, amazing people, amazing things happening. But every part of the world had its own perspective, had its own experience, and had its own stories. And what's wild is nowadays, a lot of, at least here in the US, I think less than 20% of the population actually owns a passport, and less than that even use their passport. And over in Europe, more people travel more because there's more easier access and closer ability to go in and out of different countries. Yet, a lot of the countries are somewhat similar. I've had my chance to pop around all through Europe, and it's very, very, very similar. And what's wild is when you start getting out of those similar places and you start going to places you've never been, you start seeing things you've never seen and experiencing stuff you've never even realized was there. And so for me, that was a big experience. I grew up in Southern California, which is generally a pretty well-off place in the world. And so for me to jump on that ship and start poking into, deep parts of China and then getting over to Africa and India and seeing things and experiencing things was like, wow, this is really going on. And not seeing it from a perspective, because I had the privilege as a young kid to travel with my family, where we would fly in, get in a car, go to the hotel, visit a really nice resort or some part of the city, be like, wow, this is beautiful here. Get back in a car, go back to the airport and go out. And that's very different. You can observe it and go, wow, it looks tough out there. But you don't really get hands-on. So one thing I started doing a few years ago was taking people with us, and we'll go on wild, crazy, fun adventures, go to multiple countries, and we'll do crazy, fun stuff, like go volcano boarding down an active volcano, or zip lining in the longest, fastest zip line in the world in Costa Rica, or wave running and all that stuff. And also go have fun. We'll travel and go a lot of cool places where people are like, wow, this is beautiful, and be amazed by the culture and the experience. But then we'll go and hands-on, get our hands dirty, and get into the city and find a way to help people. And what's wild is when someone invites you into their village and someone invites you into their home and allows you the privilege to help in some way, you really get to see the inside out of life in different places. And it's remarkable. I remember, I'll give you an example story. We were in the village in Guatemala helping rebuild a home for a family. And we were putting up walls and plastering and painting stuff for them and helping, really get the structure together. And in this part of Guatemala, most people still have dirt floors inside of their homes. So when it rains, 6-7 months out of the year, there's mud on the ground in their home, which is unsanitary. It's not safe. It's not healthy. And so some of these families were lucky enough to have an outside organization come in and help pour a cement floor for them. So that helps keep the sanitary better inside of their homes. And so we were helping build homes, and a friend of mine went over to a local little convenience store in the village, and we just started talking to the guy there. And turned out he grew up in an orphanage in the village himself, and he decided he was going to go to school. So he went to all the school there in the village, and eventually he wanted to go to university. So the private university was in the town, but he couldn't afford it. So he had to go to the public university, which was a 5-mile walk outside of town. And so what he would do is wake up in the morning, go to work all day, like 6 a.m. all the way to like 6 p.m. And right around, come home, eat dinner, and at 7 o'clock start walking 5 miles. And about, I think, 8 or 9 get to school. 9 till 11 at night, he would go to school, and then at 11 start, do some homework until midnight, and then at midnight walk home, get home at like 2 in the morning and do it again. He did this for 7 years in order to get his degree.
Wow.
And after 7 years of that, he came back, decided with his accounting degree, he could go out and be successful and earn more money and stuff, or he could go into the village that he came from and find a way to help support it. So he came into the village, he opened this little convenience store, and he takes all the money he makes, pays his bills, stuff like that, and then all the profit, he actually funds the local, all the uniforms, all the school supplies. He funds all the local orphanages' supplies so that the other kids can have a chance too.
Wow, so amazing, Jairek, so amazing. Just in that story in itself, if you were going to rip apart this story, it brings you everything that you need in life to get your success. When I mean success, just success in general. To me, success is serving. In there, he talked about serving. That's why he came back and he served. and absolutely amazing, because I can also resonate with you. I went to the Philippines and the Far East, and there's a lot of poverty where children are actually bathing in sewers, and that changes your perspective in life. So every morning, my first gratitude, first thing is to be grateful to be alive. That is the main important thing for me. Then being blessed in the world that we do live in the Western world, Europe, USA, amazing. And thank you so much for that answer. The other question I will ask you, what was it like growing up around your dad with that kind of mindset? It must have been absolutely phenomenal to have that, because I've got my son who's 3 years old and 3 months old. My daughter is 3. And my daughter, what she hears me listen to when I listen to you, I don't really listen to your dad too much around my daughter because of the swear words, but everyone else, like Les Brown and so on, she's picking that up and she's putting that in her life. And it's so nice to see. But you've already grown up, so I'm asking you the question, how was it and how did it help you in life?
Sure. As important as it is, every single person you're around is important because they're all teaching you different lessons. Mm-hmm. And whether it's your dad, your mom, every person I've ever crossed paths with is a great example of some things that are a beautiful example of what to do in life. And sometimes they're a huge warning of what not to do in life. And if you look closely, your little one is going to have to at some point scan the world and say, based on my goals, based on my desires, based on what I believe life is about, I'm going to have to look at dad, mom, grandma, grandpa, uncle, aunt, everybody, and decide, are they an example of someone that's helping me move closer to the things I want to do? Meaning, if I replicate what they're doing, will that help me achieve what I feel is the right thing to achieve or go after? Or are they a big ass warning of what not to do? The way they're choosing to live is showing me right now in my world saying, wow, if I do that, that'll take me further away from what I'm trying to become and who I'm trying to be in this world. And who that she's trying to be and what she's trying to accomplish is different for everybody. I mean, you can go anywhere in the world and everyone has different goals, different desires, different wants, different needs, different outlook on what life is about. And it's very, very, very different for everybody. So at some point, that individual, if you're watching or listening, you'll have to decide what is important to you. And based on that, what do you do to live in alignment and in truth with that? And for some people, it's making every action, a connection with the divine. For other people, it's getting enough power and money that they can control their world. For other people, it's giving enough and helping enough. And that's what life's all about. But it's different for everybody. And the truth is, how dad was growing up, he was a beautiful example for some things and a huge warning for others. How mom was growing up, she was a beautiful example for some things and a huge warning in other places. The one thing that's corollary across all my family that was beautiful that I've seen again and again and again, they all have really, really, really big hearts. And so their ability to look at the world and just genuinely care for other people for no other reason except for they're people and we care was probably the biggest influence I picked up from everybody around me, which was wonderful. And that's not always present. I've gotten to peer into lots of people's lives based on our work as a coach. And when I coach them, I get to hear about their life, their family, what's going on. And a lot of times, if you want to understand human psychology a little more, you might want to pick up a book called Spiral Dynamics. It's how they ended and figured out how to end apartheid in South Africa, because they figured out, this white person is nothing like that white person. Like this white police officer is nothing like that white trash person, and that white janitor or trash person is nothing like this white lawyer, and that black lawyer is nothing like this black janitor, and that black janitor is nothing like this black police officer. Like they're all different. Even though they're the same race, the same color, and the same job, they think differently. And so what they had to figure out is, how do we differentiate the ways in which they're thinking in a different color scheme so it's no longer a black or white issue? And they did. And they were able to come up with a whole 7 layers of colors and understand that everyone's operating at different levels. And so what happens is, when you start looking at your parents or grandparents or community around you, you start to have to figure out what level are they operating at. And if you can understand the fact that they have a filter that's making them operate at that level, and an example would be, they say a level 5 is someone who is like a Puritan Christian, someone from Singapore, someone who basically lives and dies by the rules. If you follow the rules, you go to heaven, you win the game. If you break the rules, you go to hell, you lose. Now, I'm sure everyone who's listening in can think of at least someone in their life they know that lives that way. There is clearly right, there is clearly wrong, there is good, there is bad. There's no gray. There's no like, well, I kind of didn't speed. It wasn't that much over the speed limit. It's like, no, you went over the speed limit, you should go to jail. And it's like, don't you think that's a little much for 2 miles an hour over the speed limit? Absolutely not. You broke it. The moment you broke it, you should be penalized to the furthest extent possible. Most people kind of scratch their head and they're like, dang, that's a little extreme for me. I kind of like, hey, 1 mile an hour, 1 kilometer over, like that's not that big of a deal. And their mind doesn't function that way. It's yes, no, right, wrong, good, bad, black or white, completely. And then we know other people who are, they would say level 6, and level 6 to them is striver, driver, achiever, more, bigger, better at whatever cost. This is the equivalent of, around the world, we would call this Wall Street mentality. Like whatever it takes, become the best, become the most powerful, take over and make it happen. And so what happens is those level 5 people talk to those level 6 people, and all of a sudden they have conflict. Because level 6 guy says, do whatever it takes. Level 5 goes, no, it must follow the rules. But then, level, I think 4, 5, 6, I forget, I think it's level 6, but maybe that was 4 or 5, 6. I'm sorry. 4 was the rules. 5 was do whatever it takes. 6 comes in and says, no, it's all about people and helping. And if it's helping people, that's what's good. And they sit around and talk about how we all need to be equal and we all need to always be on the same playing field. And hierarchy doesn't exist. We're all human beings. And the only problem is they sit around talking about this shit for months and no one ever makes a damn decision.
That's so true.
Because we're all equal. And if someone says, let's do it, and someone says, let's not, we have to hear them both through. We can't just say, let's go, because they're not heard and they must be heard too. And they have to be heard. And then you have to be heard. And then you have to be heard. And shit, 5 months later, we're still talking. And so nothing wrong with that. It's very beautiful. But it takes all of these parts for the system to work.
Yeah.
And so what happens when you travel and what happens, what I learned growing up was when you can start to realize every person's perspective and opinion is needed for the whole system to work, and every person's opinion is valid, and every person really truly needs to be part of it. Now, instead of saying, oh, those guys are right and these guys are wrong, or this one's good and that one's bad, it's like they're all needed. You just need to make sure they're all being put in the right place.
Exactly. And they've all got their space in society to do what they have to do, what they want to do, and amazing. And also now we don't have that long left. If you can talk to us about your event that you'll be doing and let everybody know what it's about. And
sure.
And then,
I have no clue. It's not my event. It's a friend of mine. I think it's called, let me see if I can figure out what it's called real quick. If you follow me on Facebook, I'll probably be posting about it as it gets closer. But let me pull up my messages real quick and see if they gave the event a title yet. I know it's the 5th and 6th of November because we're going to be in Kiev, Ukraine on the 25th for a one-day event there. Let's see. I think the event is called Masters of Success.
wow.
Sounds fancy. I'm excited. I mean, if the people speaking there are masters, I'm gonna go take notes. So
that's the right mentality as well. Because I know a lot of people will go to seminars, but they think they know it all, and they won't even take a pen. But every seminar you go to, your dad said in one of his earliest videos when he was your age, he says take it, and it's where he talks about the journal, where you have to start writing your journal. You don't have to write in it every day, but things that are happening, you write it, and something is for you to look back. And that is very, very important. And that's, like you said yourself, you've done so many things. You're doing coaching, you've done your psychology degree, you've done everything like that, but still you're willing to learn. And that is a great mindset for people to take on board. And the next question will be, there are a lot of coaches that will be watching this podcast today. Well, I'll be launching it tomorrow. And what makes a good coach, would you say, through your experience?
Lots of stuff. According to the ICF, there's a 13 basic tenets every coach should have, whether it's ethics, or understanding the history of coaching and where it came from and how it formed out of psychology, or the basics of listening skills and communication skills and stuff like that. So there's the basic logical tenets that every person should really have. We actually created a Performance Coach University training program where we train coaches. And the reason we created it is because I have personally had a coaching practice for years now, and I usually only take about 20 clients at a time, one-on-one. Recently, I've decided to take on a handful more. So I think I'm up to 25 or 26 right this moment. And just working with them personally. And I like to help people perform at their absolute best, professionally and personally. And so my take on what we do is performance coaching. It's we increase people's performance. We don't turn them around. We don't save their life. We don't do all that stuff. Those things happen along the way. And it's beautiful but that's not our focus. Our goal is to take someone who's already doing okay and help them do extraordinarily better. And there's certain systems we can use to help them do that. They're proven, they're time tested, they just work. And so my thought of what makes a great coach is empathy, really, really, really understanding and caring about other people. The ability to, I don't even know how to put it in words. The ability to have some real true life experience behind them. If you look at our motto, it's learn it, live it, give it. There's a lot of people who go out and learn and immediately they go, wow, this is so inspiring. I want to give. I want to share it with everybody. And I'm going to do that through the vehicle called being a coach or being a speaker or being an author. And the challenge is they never really lived it. They never really put it to use. They never really took that concept and said, okay, I'm going to go use this concept in my life and see what actually happens in the real world. And so, a beautiful example of a coach, I was just sitting on a jet the other day with a gentleman he's a retired plastic surgeon. And he did plastic surgery for years and years and years and years. He retired, got into fine art and painting. Now he's an artist and does painting. And he was telling me, he said, I believe I want to help more, and I believe I really can through the vehicle of coaching. And I'd love, insight on it. I'd be happy to share it with you. And I said, wow, you would make a beautiful coach. Because when I asked him, why do you want to be a coach? He said, I believe it would be another way for me to connect with the divine. I said, wow. He's not talking about, well, shit, man, I think I can do an hour of work and get paid a lot of money for it. It's not like, oh, I can show the world how great my knowledge is. But it's not about those things. It's about service. It's about coming in. It's literally called a helping profession. It's a helping profession. You're here to help people. Helping comes first. I think I'm going to agree with Gary Vaynerchuk that I think a lot of people recently have reverse engineered how to make money. They said, oh, I can make a bunch of money if I use this as my vehicle to charge people a bunch of money to talk to them. And I can just spew out a bunch of stuff I've heard from other people who are successful, and that should suffice for knowledge and information. And the truth is it doesn't suffice. And it causes a lot of people to get turned off by the industry and get kind of frustrated and pissed off because you're dealing with someone who really doesn't have the experience. That's the reason why I actually started my own business, because I spent 6.5 years working for my father's company in the coaching department. And at one point they asked us to start coaching some of their business clients on business coaching. I had zero experience starting a business, running a business, hiring employees, managing the books. I had zero experience. And I told them, I said, listen, I literally feel uncomfortable because it's not right for me to be coaching any of them on business when I have zero experience doing so. I've never run a business, started a business, grown a business, done anything. I said, as a matter of fact, if you really want me to do this, I'm going to go start a business on the side and grow this thing to figure out what it takes to actually succeed at business. I started a little coaching business on the side using the skill that I had 6.5 years experience with. I'd worked 6.5 years with this, knowing that I could deliver a true result for people prior to ever starting the business. Also had my degree in psychology, also had my background in life experience. And I only coached on time management and effectiveness. Why? Because that's what I was legitimately great at. And I had 6 years experience coaching on that topic. So I took that, started a business, and in 8 months grew it from $0 to $100,000 in revenue. And at 24 years old, that's pretty good.
That's awesome.
I know coaches have been coaching for 40 years and still struggling to make $40,000 a year. And so to jump into the space and instantly grow the business, have to hire people, have to manage the books, have to run the business, have to do the marketing, have to do the sales, have to do all the parts of it. I understood the basic level of like, wow, I'm starting to understand business. Now, I would never call myself an expert in business coaching at that point, but I would say, listen, I'm a novice. I'm learning. I have my own business. I understand what it takes to do so. And I did something extraordinarily well, which was grow my business online. So I said, okay, where can I apply this skill to help more people who need this specific assistance? I partnered up with a lady who was already teaching small businesses only in Los Angeles County how to take their businesses online. And small business meaning it might be a 5 to 10 person business making $1 to $20 million a year. And so it's like a flower shop in Beverly Hills that's doing 1.3, 1.4 million dollars a year in revenue. And at first I never knew you could sell that many flowers a year, which is pretty remarkable. But it turns out the housewives in Beverly Hills buy $60,000 arrangements for their house parties in the summer, like pretty amazing. And so we worked with them and they didn't even have a website. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. We can grow your business overnight if we just put your business online. We design a website. We create an order form. We create a contact form. We put you up on Yelp so people know where you are and they can find you easier. And this isn't rocket science. This is the basic, simple online marketing stuff. But all of a sudden we got them from, 1 point something million, 1.2 million, all the way up to like 2.5 million. And it's like, wow, they got all this extra business just because they have an online presence and it's not that hard to do. And so that's what we were doing. I was taking the skill that I had proven, I had lived, I really applied and got the result myself. And then I took that skill and I was now sharing it in partnership. It wasn't me saying I'm an expert. I said, listen, I'm a one-time wonder right now. You ever hear of a band who hits one hit on the radio and then like they don't hit again? I don't know if I'm going to hit again. I've done it once. I can show you what I've done, but I'm going to team up with an expert who's helped many businesses do this and succeed. And with her brand and background and my experience of doing it, but I wasn't there to teach them this stuff. I was there to hold them accountable to get them to actually apply what they learned. Lots of people go to events and they learn stuff, go home and do nothing with it. And so we didn't want any of our clients to fall into that category. So we teamed up. She taught them the skills that she was very well an expert in for years. I held them accountable to follow through, and we created a great package to help grow a lot of business in Los Angeles. And so that's the equivalent of living it. Like, I didn't jump out one day, go take a marketing class on 5 ways to make my social media kill it, and then all of a sudden call myself a social media expert and try to sell social media packages to people. Lots of people do stuff like that. And what they're doing is they're undercutting their experience. It would make more sense to go get a job as the marketing pro at an automotive company and grow that company, tenfold in 1 year using social media, then go do it at another company, then go to another company, then come out and go, hey, I've done this 3 different times at 3 different companies in 3 different industries. I literally know what works. Now, based on that, you've lived it. Now, at that point, it might take you 7 years or 8 years. I think what's interesting, we live in a time in society where apprenticeship has gone away and we don't realize it. Because back in the day, if you wanted to become a really amazing contractor, you would go become an apprentice for 15, 20, 30 years to a contractor. And you'd work under them and learn their craft and learn their skill and hone it and really truly understand it for like 10, 20 years before ever considering breaking off on your own. And then at some point when you broke off, you'd be able to say, listen, I have 30 years experience doing this under X, Y, and Z's lead, and now I would love to do this for you. It's like, wow, what credibility. And I think coaches specifically right now are missing that because most people just want to skip to the part where they're the fucking expert, excuse my language. But they do. They just want to skip. They want to skip the whole apprenticeship. They want to skip the actual learning and growing and refining and all the stuff. And to an extent, I cut it 6 years. I did 6.5 years of that and then moved out on my own. But most people start on day one and go, screw it, I'm just going to become an expert for some reason. And it's like, well, pal, go get some apprenticeship. Like, go really learn. Go find someone who's amazing at what they do and study them and learn with them and grow with them and practice with them. And the beautiful part is I'm not the first apprentice kind of person to come out of Dad's organization. He's been teaching this stuff for like 20 years as far as helping other people learn the skill sets he has and apply. So the beautiful part is there's a huge community of people that he's taught his skills to year after year after year after year, and they've refined, and they're incredibly talented at taking those skills to the world. And so that's the beautiful part. But I'd say if you're a bunch of young coaches watching, you might want to figure out an organization to be a part of that'll allow you to continually craft and refine your skills again and again and again and again and again and again and again, so that over time you can get to that level. And every other industry type, does it. Nowadays, not so much, but if you look at sports, like, you don't come out as a 15-year-old one-hit wonder that takes the gold medal. Usually, like, you've been training years and years and years and years and years and years and years, and you finally get your shot to go for it. And if you want to break out in the industry of coaching, you might want to look at the same paradigm of where am I training? What am I studying? And you can do this on your own. Berkeley in California lets people make their own doctoral study where they choose the curriculum. They design what they're going to learn and how they're going to learn it, but they create a curriculum. And so if I was a young coach right now looking backwards, and I do this myself, I have a curriculum of things I'm constantly reading and learning to grow my practice, my education, my skill level, and my understanding of people. One of my favorite things I've crossed paths with really recently is basic neuroscience, and just understanding how the brain and biology is actually affecting the body. And when you can learn how to positively manipulate the experience of chemicals and hormones in the body, you can train your body to do what you want it to do. You just have to know how to use it. Now, a lot of people try to do that through medication. But my thought is you can do it through breathing. You can do it through sleep. You can do it through food. You can do it through all kinds of stuff. So understanding that and then taking that and applying it to our clients and helping them transform their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, their patterns, their habits, their energy, all through understanding how to positively manipulate the internal environment.
Amazing answer, amazing answer. And I truly believe in what you say. And when you give me that answers and it goes ka-ching in my head, and I said, I'm in the right path. I'm 39 years old. I've been on my journey for 7 years. Started with Bob Proctor, worked my way, started doing your dad stuff, Jim Rohn, day in and day out. I used to be broke. I used to sit on webinars because of the US time and UK time, to sit there for 2 hours at the end to tell me it's $5,000. But I still got knowledge, and then eventually reading books, doing this, doing that. And I didn't go out to become a coach and go and serve the world. It just happened. It just happened.
And the neat part for people who are in that position you're talking about, you go to a library and get access to most all of this information.
Absolutely.
Check it out. Just read it.
Just read. And that's how I learned. I learned reading. There's so many powerful videos on YouTube, the likes of yourself. I'm doing that. I've met phenomenal people from the US, like Javon Langford, people like that. And I'm interviewing some great people. And the interview's about to finish. Unless you're all right for another 5 minutes, you cool? Or you're sure?
I think so. I have a client coming, so I have to pop.
Okay, sorry. Quickly, is the quick things about opportunity. I always coach people when you don't see the opportunity, go out and create it. So my opportunity will be that people might say to me, oh, how did you manage to get to Jairek? But this reaching out, having the courage to ask and create that opportunity for yourself. And what is your stance on creating your own opportunity?
So opportunity itself is a mix between preparation and timing. And the thought is, and I always tell this to people, there's certain things happening in your life right now that if you're not prepared for, and you haven't done the research, you haven't studied, you haven't practiced, you haven't honed your craft, when the opportunity presents itself, you won't see it as an opportunity. You'll just kind of go, and maybe walk right by it. I'll give you an example. Last year, I had someone reach out to me and say, hey, we have organizational change going on here, and we have 60,000 employees. We need to get 20,000 employees into our way of doing it, our 10 tenets of business. We need them to really believe it and to live by it. The old 40,000 do, but the new ones, 20,000 don't. How do we get them in? P.S. If you can do this and get 20,000 people to get on board with this, and you can beat the running bid right now of $1 million, you can win the bid and get the contract. You just have to come in less than $1 million and be able to really, truly get 20,000 people on board. And remember, I scratched my head, and this is a huge opportunity. I mean, go make an extra, $900,000 in one deal. I mean, that's pretty good. That's a decent, ROI. And all it really is basic behavioral and cognitive change, which I understand. But I scratched my head and I said, I've never written a proposal for organizational change. I don't even know how to write a proposal for organizational change. And I thought about it for a couple of days and I said, listen, and I've never really truly done it. So I don't want to just fake like I have and not know what I'm doing. So I talked to a few people that are my coaches for a day or so. And then I stepped back and said, I'm going to have to pass on this one because truly I'm not prepared. I have no experience in this. And I don't want to, BS my way through life. I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm doing just to try to make money. I'd rather really study it, understand it, be ready for it, and truly walk in with confidence, know exactly what to do to make the change happen. And so over the last year, I said no, walked away from at least probably $900,000 deal. And because I'm not in the right position to really deliver for them at what they're looking for. So I have no problem with that. I'm just saying that was an opportunity that presented itself. And because I wasn't practiced, wasn't ready, and wasn't, in the right space, I couldn't take advantage of it. Now, the neat part is I said at that point, dang, if there's contracts like that out there, I want to go sign $1 million contract for a couple months worth of work. That's awesome. So I said, okay, who do I need to get to know in organizational change so that I can really understand the process? So I can, next time one of those pops up, I can say, of course we'll do it. Here's my team. Here's who's involved. Here's what we'll do. And I can know exactly what, when, where, and how. And so I started reaching out to other friends who are in the same space I am, but also who know IO, psychology and organizational change management, and learning from them so that if and when that contract presents itself, next time I could take it and go.
Amazing.
But that's the thought. So the whole luck process is being prepared. If you've never done an interview before, if you don't have a show, if you have never podcasted, if you've never done something, if you called me and said, hey, can I pick your brain for 30 minutes? I'd really like to know what you do. I probably would have said, listen, I really appreciate you reaching out. There's tons of free content we produce online. Why don't you go through a bunch of that? You'll probably learn a ton about what we do and how we do it. No problem. But because you've built this show, you've been working at it, you've been building up your guests, you had other people as reference, because you've done it and been in motion, it's a lot easier for us to go, sure, we'll come check it out. Because it's already happening. You've done the preparation. You've done the work. It's in motion. Does that make sense?
100%, 100%.
For those people who are out there who are thinking about doing something, you got to learn what it takes to really succeed. You got to live it fully and be in motion. And then ideally, when you figure out what works, like you are here, pay it forward. And I guess that's what you're doing right now, is sharing, what works and how you do stuff. That way other people listening in can go, oh, and get excited to try to do it themselves, which is beautiful.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot coming from you. And it's actually showing that my work is working. The main reason I've done this show as well is to help people. It's all about serving. And I feel what you've done today, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And I send you all my blessings, all my loving, and thank you so much. And hopefully I'll be seeing you when you come here.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Amazing. And thank you for supporting me. If I can serve and support you in any way, you know where I am, brother. I'm here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I'll keep watching your lives and have a wonderful day and stay awesome.
You too.
All right. Signing out straight from the heart. Thank you so much, Jairek. You mean a lot to us. Have a phenomenal day. Bye-bye for now.